Hello everyone, welcome to my class. In my previous video I have tell you about the first chapter of history, that is how, when and where. And in this video I have come with another important chapter from geography segment, and the title of the chapter is resources. In this chapter we will see what are resources and what are the other related aspects that we need to understand when we need to read about this chapter. But before going to start or discuss the chapter, let us try to understand what are the learning objectives of this chapter. The learning objectives of these chapters are given here in this way. So it means after discussing this chapter, we should be very much clear, or we should be able to understand that what are resources exactly mean to us, or what it is. Another, what are the uses and the value of resources. This point 2 will be clear to us after discussing this chapter. Another, what are the different types of resources we will come to know after discussing this chapter. The origin, stock and the distributions of the resources in the different part of the world and in the different part of the country or various regions of the state we will come to know. And finally, what is the importance and need of the resources, that point we will see, and the conservation of resources. How we can conserve the resources, we will also understand this particular point after discussing this chapter. So this is what the objectives of the chapter means. When we will discuss this chapter, this point will be clear to us, right? Then let us see what are these. First we will see, or we will try to understand that what resources mean. You see, resources are any substances or anything which has some use and values. These are called resources. So what are resources? Any substances, right? Any substances which has some uses and value. So anything which has some uses and value, these are called resources. You see, being a teacher, now what I am doing, I am writing something on the blackboard. Now to write this, what I am using this chalk. So it has some use. So this chalk becomes a resource for me, right? In that way, there are so many things. Take water. Water we use for various purposes. Take land, right? Land we use for various purposes. Take this classroom or blackboard or books or chalk, right? That we use. So like that, there are so many things we are using in our day-to-day life or everyday life. So all those things which help us to fulfill our need. Okay? These are called resources. So first point, anything which has use and the value. And these things satisfy or fulfill our need. So those substances are called resources. So can we say that resources are all those things which has a use, which has a value, and which satisfied our needs. Okay, which satisfy our needs. They are called resources. The example, some of the example is written here. Water is written, land is written, classroom is written. Can we call this whatever the fooding items we are using to consume or satisfy our hunger, this cloth we are wearing, right? The air which we breathe, right? The transportation which we use to move from one place to another place, right? So all these are called what? Resources. Clear? So this is about resources. So if these are resources, then we will try to see that what are the different type of resources that we find in our environment. Do you know the resources are classified based on how it obtained or based on their existence. So based on their existence or how it's obtained, resources are classified into two types. Now these are called natural resources and these are called human-made resources. So what are natural resources? First we will see that one. Natural resources are those resources which exist in an environment naturally by the phenomena of nature or natural happening. Whatever the resources we find in our environment, these are called natural resources. You see, in natural resources, human beings have no contribution for their existence. Take the example of these different patterns of landform. Take the example of the soil. Take the example of these forests. Right? Take the example of river water. These are the different type of resources and they exist on the earth, and for their existence the nature play its own role. Human being has no contribution. Based on that, whatever the resources we find in our environment, these are called natural resources. Another is human-made resources. There are some kind of resources which is being modified by us for our comfortable living or to satisfy our needs. So these kind of resources are called human-made resources. For example, are you using cell phone these days to continue your studies or to do your studies? You see, these cell phones are made by human being. No doubt, there are so many materials, the materials are used to make this cell phone, but this cell phone is made by human being transforming that resources with their skill. In the same way, sometime you might have seen the transportation which you use to move from one place to another place. That is made by human being. You might have seen for the beautification of the houses, sometimes a flower garden is being created by the people. So any this kind of resources which is being used by or modified by the people and used by the people to satisfy their need or for their comfortable living, this kind of resources are called human-made resources. Now, based on the existence of the resources, when resources are classified into natural and human-made resources, again we will see that what are the resources comes in the natural resources. Okay, and to understand which resources are called natural resources, you keep waiting for my next video.